Your life as every pirate hunter rank. Level 1. Deckhand. Your father has been dead 6 months, and the men he owed money to have been patient for exactly 6 months. That patience, it turns out, expired tonight, which is how you end up 18 years old, cornered behind the fish stalls, negotiating with a knife that isn't yours over a debt that isn't yours either. You have no money, no plan. Well, you have one thing: a scrap of paper off a harbor post, a pirate's name, a price on his head. One of those notices everyone walks past and nobody reads twice. You read it twice. With a blade currently resting against your ribs, you do the math. And for once in your miserable 18 years, it actually works out. Somebody else's crime, converted directly into your money. You shove the knife hand aside, walk to the docks, spend your last coin on passage aboard a sloop that probably shouldn't be allowed on open water. And congratulations, you're a pirate hunter now. Well, nobody ever showed you how. Obviously, there's no school for this. 3 days later, you're knee-deep in a mangrove swamp getting personally acquainted with mosquitoes the size of your thumb. Nobody told you about the mosquitoes. Your first target is a small-timer named Cobb Tanner. His criminal mastermind plan involves lighting a fire visible from open water. Not exactly a chess grandmaster, this one. What the notice didn't mention, and notices never mention the important part, you'll learn that fast, is the second man flatten the reeds with a loaded pistol. That shot goes off 18 inches from your ear. It misses. You, unfortunately for everyone involved, do not miss what it teaches you. Drop, roll, move. You're on him before he reloads, knee in his back, his own belt doing double duty as handcuffs. Tanner's still by the fire, machete out, screaming for a partner who, isn't coming. He swings wild. You go down, come up with a fistful of mud straight into his face. Nobody taught you that. Pure improvisation under extreme duress. It works beautifully, which is honestly embarrassing for him. You take his legs out and sit on his chest until the fight leaves him. 2 other hunters crash through the reeds and find both men trussed, and you kneeling between them, breathing like you just ran a mile you didn't train for. You walk out soaked, shaking, somehow still alive. Not glory, but the debt's paid. You keep Tanner's boots. They fit. Small mercies. Try not to think about that too hard on the walk home. Level 2. Tracker. Here's the truth nobody hands you at the start of this career, because if they did, fewer people would sign up. Half this trade isn't even skill. It's just being wrong less often than the last guy who tried it. You learn this the expensive way. You board a ship flying distress flags, grinning, absolutely certain it's easy money. Right up until a belaying pin cracks your jaw and the deck starts spinning in directions decks aren't supposed to spin. Turns out the helpless merchant vessel had 3 armed men waiting below the whole time. So you lose a tooth, but you gain, finally, some sense. Watch first. Board second. Revolutionary concept. Truly groundbreaking stuff. You start a ledger. Names, faces, habits. The hunters who last aren't the toughest ones out there. They're the ones who write things down. One name goes into the ledger and immediately causes problems. Bess Calloway, a forger selling fake letters of marque to crews too green to know better. Unlike everyone else on your list, she doesn't fight, she talks, and she's good at it. By the time you've cornered her in a rope loft, she's already convinced 2 guards you're the criminal here. That's 30 deeply confusing seconds, sorting out whose fists are actually swinging at you and why. You drop 1 guard with an elbow, send the other through a stack of hemp rope. Calloway, mid-sentence the entire time, goes for the window with a knife she's had palmed since the conversation started. You catch her wrist an inch from your own throat, put her on the floor, gag her with her own scarf. Less for security, more because you simply cannot listen to another word. Unfortunately, even gagged, she somehow still looks like she's winning the argument. Lesson learned. Watch the hands, never the mouth. Level 3. Captain. You buy your own ship at 20 years old, cash on the barrelhead. The broker counts it twice. Apparently a dead man's kid showing up with that kind of money ruins his whole worldview. Small ship, fast, shallow drafted, built for water that leaves Navy frigates stuck on sandbars looking foolish. This is the year the bounties stop being small time. Governors start posting serious fortunes for named men, and one name in particular can silence an entire tavern. The second someone says it out loud, Ambrose Fell. Fell runs his crew like a royal court, complete with duels to first blood on deck, so absolutely nobody forgets whose ship it is. You corner him in a card room, pistol pressed to the back of his chair before he even knows you're in the room. Feels like a win already, doesn't it? Fell hits your legs with his chair, and he's moving before you find your balance. 2 men flank him, on you in half a second. You hit one in the head with the chair, take a knife graze across the ribs from the other. Fell gets a hand on your pistol arm, turns your own shot harmlessly into the ceiling. You drive your shoulder into his chest, buy yourself 3 seconds, and spend every single one of them getting through that door. blood running down your side, his laughter chasing you the whole way out. You don't get him, you get out. On a night like that, yeah, that counts as a win. Write it down as one. Level 4, Manhunter. The work is bigger now. The men are worse. The lessons cost more blood every single time. And even the wins come with something broken attached to them. Twin brothers, Dade and Corwin Ash, split their forces in every fight. One from the bow, one from behind, and their victims frequently die confused about which brother actually killed them, which is either impressive branding or deeply annoying, depending on your mood. You track their careening beach to one exact stretch of sand. Go in alone at first light, because a small landing party is the one thing their twin trick simply cannot counter. Corwin spots you crossing the tree line, comes fast with a boarding axe. You drop a fallen log between you, so he's forced to pick a side. He picks wrong. You close the distance before he resets his feet and drop him flat, broadside to the skull. Dade comes sprinting at the noise. You meet him with the axe you just took off his own brother, which is either poetic or just recycling. Your call. You trade blows across the sand until you get inside his reach and drive the handle into his gut hard enough to fold him in half. Both twins trust back to back before their crew is even woken up. 2 names, 1 morning, 0 help from anyone. Not bad for a dead man's kid from a fish market. The one you can't close that year is Ezra Voss. You find his hideout in a cove behind rock that appears on no chart anywhere, which, yeah, should have been your first warning. Go in at first light with 4 men and walk straight into an ambush. A humbling way to start a Tuesday. You sprint across open beach through 60 seconds of fire that is, genuinely, the most frightening 60 seconds of your entire career, and you've had some serious contenders. You make the tree line with your coat torn by a shot that missed by a hand's width. The fight goes to knives, which is the worst kind. You take a cut across the forearm from a man you never even get a clear look at. Voss puts a ball through your calf before you close the last few feet. By the time you drag yourself upright, he's already in a jolly boat pulling for open water. One hand raised in mock salute like this is a parade. Unfortunately, it kind of is. You don't get him. You get the memory, filed under the only rule in this trade worth actually knowing. The men you plan hardest against fall easiest. The ones you write off as simple cost you the most blood every single time. Level 5, the Reaper. There's one name on your list nobody says out loud twice, not out of superstition, just nobody who said it twice is around anymore to explain why they stopped. Cristobal Rena, the Spaniard. No flag, no crew motto, just a black-hulled sloop that shows up where it shouldn't and leaves ships behind with nobody on them. Governors don't post bounties on Rena because bounties need witnesses, and Rena, unfortunately, has a policy about witnesses. The price on his head came from a merchant consortium who pooled their money quietly and refused to put their names on the notice, which tells you everything you need to know before you've even read it. You spend 4 months just confirming he exists. Half the port captains you ask genuinely aren't sure. The ones who are sure change the subject. You write that down too. You find his pattern the same way you find everything, through the ledger. 3 years of dead ends and half names suddenly pointing at one stretch of coast. You take 2 men you trust and nobody else. More men just means more people to watch die, and you've done enough of that already. His sloop is in a collapsed sea cave at low tide. No lookout, no fire. You go in on a longboat with muffled oars, and for the first 20 minutes it almost feels easy, which is always the warning sign, and you never learn. He's awake. You're still 6 feet from the hull when his voice comes out of the dark and says your name, your actual name, which means he knew you were coming, which means tonight just got significantly worse. You go over the rail anyway. First man down fast, second man loud, and then it's just you and Rena on a dark deck with nowhere for either of you to go. He's not what the story's built. Lean, quiet looking. Moves like a man doing a job he stopped finding interesting years ago. That last part is somehow the worst detail. 4 seconds into the first exchange, you're bleeding above the left eye with your vision going strange. He's not trying to win yet, he's reading you. So you slow down, stop pushing, start watching instead. 2 people in the dark, figuring out which one blinks first. That's the real fight, and it's completely invisible. You find it eventually, a half-step hesitation when he shifts left. Small enough you almost miss it 3 times. You bait it once, twice. 3rd time you go through it, inside his guard, hand on his wrist. Take the elbow across your face because you planned for it. His blade finds your eye, yours finds his shoulder. Same moment. You don't feel the eye right away. There's heat, pressure. The left side of the world just quietly closes, and your brain spends a few seconds deciding whether to mention it. Your body keeps moving anyway, drives him back, pins him, puts him on the deck with a knee on his chest and a blade at his throat. You wait. The fight doesn't come back into him. He looks up at you and says, "Good." One word. Then he closes his eyes. You take him in alive. The consortium pays without counting. You sail home with one eye and a full purse. The blind side is permanent. Some nights that bothers you more than others, but you won. Honestly, in this trade, that's about as good as the receipts get. Level 6. Legend. You're old now. One eye, a bad knee, and a warehouse full of boots that don't fit anyone still alive. You've outlived every name that ever kept you busy, which sounds like winning until you realize winning just means you're the last one left to turn the lights off. A kid showed up at your door 3 weeks ago, 17, maybe 18. Father dead, debt inherited, knife against his ribs, the whole familiar story. You handed him a notice off the wall, pointed him toward a sloop that shouldn't legally be on water, and watched him walk away doing the exact same math you once did behind the fish stalls. You didn't mention the boots, or the eye. Figured he'd find out soon enough. You're thinking about that kid now. Specifically, you're thinking about him because you're currently on a supply run. Routine, boring, the kind of job you stopped thinking twice about 20 years ago, and there's a black-hulled sloop closing from the southwest that wasn't there 10 minutes ago. Your crew sees it the same time you do. 4 men, good men, the kind who don't need to be told twice. You tell them anyway, get below, weapons out, nobody fires first. You've been in worse than this. You've been in much worse than this, except you haven't. Not like this. Because the sloop is faster than it looks, and the crew coming over your rail isn't some desperate outfit running low on food and options. These are professionals. Someone paid for this. Someone found you specifically, out here on a supply run 2 miles from port, on a Tuesday. The fight lasts maybe 4 minutes. You take 2 men down yourself, which, yeah, at your age, one eye, bad knee, is honestly not bad. A third catches you across the shoulder with a boarding axe just as you're turning. You go down on one knee. Stay there a second. Get back up, because that's the only thing you've ever actually known how to do. The fourth one is the one that finishes it. Quick, professional, the kind of shot a man fires when he isn't angry about it, just working, which is, unfortunately, a feeling you recognize. You hit the deck, and the sky above you is completely clear. Blue all the way to the edge, quiet except for the water. You've bled on better decks than this, and worse ones too, and you think about that for a second, and then you think about the kid, and then you stop thinking about anything at all. No medal, no monument, just a notice, eventually, posted quiet in a harbor somewhere. One of those things everyone walks past and nobody reads twice. Somewhere, a kid reads it twice.